Hi, I'm Sudeshna Mitra, and I'm faculty at IIHS. My work is in terms of urban economic development, and I particularly look at land and real estate issues. In terms of how land and real estate are used and how they play a role in the urban economy, what kind of different activities happen, in terms of how land is now increasingly being leveraged as a financing tool as cities grow, as they transform in their character itself. So for example, a lot of cities are now becoming investment destinations. They're being marketed, and land is a very important concern in terms of what kinds of investors are looking at various cities. It's also an important concern because urban local bodies and urban development authorities are increasingly looking at land as a way to raise new sets of finances, new source of finances. So as they try and become fiscally autonomous. So as an example, let's think of, for example, peri-urban areas of cities. There are multiple uses that will happen in peri-urban areas, ranging from agriculture to very high-end gated residential developments. And these are all associated with different kinds of public and private negotiations that happen over land. So they're also associated with how these different groups of people value land, how their aspirations of the different kinds of urban futures that are possible, what they imagine as the different kinds of urban futures are possible. So these value propositions and the uses of land give us a lens to understand these new forms of public-private collaborations that are happening. So one of the things that I look at in my research is how these collaborations are changing the urban governance system itself, what we traditionally theorize as market, state, and society, how the lines between them are getting blurred, how there are new conflicts and collaborations between the different groups. In peri-urban areas, for example, when you're thinking about land value, you have to think about landowners, you have to think about developers, you have to think about government bodies, and all of the ways in which they perceive that change is going to happen. Peri-urban areas are also a good example to think about how urban land value is also associated with questions of displacement, questions of equitable land use, sustainable land use in urban areas, and the differentiation that we need to think about between economic use of land and the financial use of land. Because there might be concerns such as employment, livelihood, systems that are connected between peri-urban areas to urban areas, like for example, systems of water, systems of waste, systems of energy, which are linked to different kinds of peri-urban livelihoods and how they feed into the urban economy. So when land value is thought about simply as a financial term, then there are several aspects of economic land value that don't get considered. So peri-urban areas also allow an analysis and research into thinking about how there are several ways in which land value should be analyzed and give us different ways of thinking about the use, value propositions, urban governance, and these new kinds of collaborations and what they imply for the city itself. From this general perspective, I teach courses which are on land economics, on urban theory, and planning courses. Previous to teaching and the research, I also worked as a consultant on a lot of projects which were called land-intensive economic projects. So you can think about highway projects, special economic zones, etc. And a lot of financial analysis goes into deciding whether these projects should go ahead, how they should be structured, how they should be phased. If it's a public-private collaboration, then how much of the value is assigned to the public partner versus the private partner. And so it goes back. So I bring in sort of that experience of like doing those kinds of financial analysis into doing the research and teaching now about how urban land value is constituted and what kinds of conflicts and collaborations and how we think about, for example, how our cities are changing, how our cities are going to be used for different activities through this urban value sort of a lens.